Hello, my name is Brandon Slay. I was born and raised in Amarillo, Texas, and started wrestling when I was 6. Wrestled all the way throughout middle school and high school. Had the opportunity to go to school at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia and wrestled for Penn. During that time, after I graduated from Penn, I moved out to the Olympic Training Center and trained for the Sydney Olympics in 2000. And thankfully, I was able to represent our country in the Sydney Olympics. And I went on to work in the business world for about 5 years, but then continued to really miss wrestling, really miss our sport. And that period of time, I got a job with USA Wrestling where I was one of our assistant national coaches, helping coach the Olympic team in 2012 in London and 2016 in Rio. So I worked for USA Wrestling for about 8 years. And then over the last almost 4 years, I've been the executive director and head coach of the Pennsylvania Regional Training Center, what we call the PRTC here in Philadelphia, where our Olympic Training Center, we train at the University of Pennsylvania, Penn, and Drexel University. And currently I'm coaching guys like Joey McKenna, Ethan Lezak, Dan Valmont, Richard Perry, Dave McFadden just joined our team, Ben Honus just joined our team, and then as of Friday, actually Mark Hall just joined the PRTC as well, so he'll start with us in January. So now I get a chance to coach those Olympic hopefuls and also lead this organization. So I tell you all that about myself just so you know who's speaking to you, kind of what my experience level is, because what I want to talk to you today is about leadership. And I think that that's a term that gets thrown around a lot. To become the best leader you can be, you got to work on your leadership. Let's read a book about leadership. Let's talk about leadership. Let's have some guy, from Texas, record a video on leadership for a wrestling camp. And so I think it can go many different directions. So I want today to try to take leadership and make it as clear to you as I can. And before I kind of get into that, I want to make sure you know that the most important person you can lead is yourself. That you could talk about integrity, you could talk about character, but if you're not living your life with integrity and character, then you're being a hypocrite and you're not going to get other people to follow you. So to be the best leader you could be, you're going to make sure that you're leading yourself well. If you're talking about being a state champion, a national champion, Olympic champion, then your work ethic, what you say, what you do, how you treat other people, the type of teammates you are, how you consistently are devoted to those goals and how people see that in you, that's ultra important if you want to be a leader, because you can say all those things. You can tweet out, I want to be a state champ or national champ or Olympic champ. I mean, you can say a bunch of stuff, but if you're not living that out on a daily basis, then you're a poser. You're being fake, and you're definitely not being the best leader you can be. So again, before we get into this leadership, I want to make sure that it's really important that you move forward and being the best leader you can be by leading yourself first. All right? And then I really think leadership is, in essence, it comes from the heart, and not just this blood pumping back and forth here, but the heart, our personhood, who we are inside, this combination of our soul and our mind and just who we are. I want to define that as our heart. And I think to maximize leadership, that really comes from the heart. And what I want to do today is take that word heart, Heart, and I want to connect a value to each one of those letters. So the first one, H. I think the first part of being the best leader you can be is hungering for wisdom. So not just thinking you know it all and you've got it all figured out, but to hunger for wisdom is to be coachable, to ask your coaches, ask your teachers, ask your friends, ask your parents, ask your friends' parents, ask your grandparents, ask others questions, seeking knowledge, seeking wisdom, and realizing that you don't know it all. And I think that's really, really important. And you may say, well, how do you hunger for wisdom? How else do you hunger for wisdom? I would say you hunger for wisdom by reading books, by reading articles and magazines, by listening to podcasts, by listening to sermons, studying video, right, on the internet to learn more and becoming more wise technically. And, in my day, for example, I'll kind of give you a little insight. I start every single day. I wake up, I go outside right now. The weather's nice. It's about 75, outside of Philadelphia. And I read my Jesus Calling, and then I read my New Morning Mercies by Paul David Tripp. And then I connect verses to these two devotionals to God's Word. And I read through God's Word, and I have that that quiet time and that prayer time with God, and just ask Him to be with me throughout the day, to teach me more about Him so I can know Him more and I can make Him known. So I hunger for wisdom by learning more about God. Another way I hunger for wisdom, like I said earlier, is I read books. And it takes discipline to read books. You have to separate yourself, find a quiet place, maybe do it early in the morning, maybe do it on a lunch break or do it at nighttime when you go to bed, sacrificing time on the weekends, maybe doing other fun stuff to actually dig into a good book and read. And three of the books that I've read over the last couple years that I really, really liked are all by the same author, and it's this guy Ryan Holiday. And the first one I read was called "The Obstacle Is the Way." The second one I read is "The Ego is the Enemy." And then the one I'm reading right now is "Stillness is the Key." And I think all of those, the obstacle is the way, the ego is the enemy, and stillness is the key, are all very appropriate to being the best leader you can be. But that's all in the sense of hungry for wisdom, learning from others, reading books, again, listening to podcasts. I listen to a lot of sermons. I listen to some books, through my phone, when I'm traveling, and all, again, I want to wrap this up. That's all realizing I don't know it all and I can learn from other people. So the H is hungering for wisdom. That's really important. The E is expecting the best. And expecting the best is having a sense of confidence. That word confidence is C-O-N, confide. It means with faith, with belief. So to have confidence is to have belief and to expect the best. Expect the best from God. Expect the best from your coaches. Expect the best from your friends. And expect the best from yourself. Now, God's perfect. He's never going to let you down. But humans, right? Parents, friends, family, and even ourselves, we can let ourselves down. Others can let us down. But I don't wake up every day expecting the worst from people or expecting the worst from myself. I don't wake up having this negative attitude. And not only do I believe that the glass is half full, I believe I want to see the glass like running over, pouring into a saucer. Like if you had a cup of tea, there's a saucer underneath it that'd be pouring over, and I'd be having to drink from the saucer. That type of just expecting the best in all situations. And though this world is not perfect and doesn't always work out perfectly, so if things don't work out as planned or work out perfectly, again, I learned lessons associated to that. I fail forward. I struggle well. And I keep moving forward. And that's expecting the best. I know some of the most miserable people to be around are kind of like these what you may call them, like a negative Nancy. No offense to Nancy, whoever she is, but you don't want to be around negative Nancy. You don't want to be around like Eeyore the donkey and Winnie the Pooh. If you ever watched that, Winnie the Pooh wakes up and he's like, "Hey, let's go out. It's gonna be a beautiful day. Let's have fun." And Eeyore's like, "Oh, it's probably gonna rain today," right? He's not expecting the best out of the day. He's expecting the worst, and it's not fun to be around people who expect the worst. It's enjoyable to be around people who expect the best, and I just encourage you that that's another great value in being the best leader you can be. So H is hungering for wisdom. E is expecting the best. And A, this next one I'm going to share with you, is I think this is really the most important one. This is the one that we all struggle with the most. It's accepting responsibility. When you mess up, if you mess up in your family, you mess up in your friendships, you mess up in a relationship, you mess up on the wrestling mat, you mess up on a school project, taking a test, maybe you didn't study as hard enough as you could. Those mistakes, instead of being a victim and blaming other people for your mistakes, oh, this is my parents' fault, it's my friend's fault, it's my teacher's fault, they didn't teach me well enough. It was my coach's fault, he didn't spend enough time with me on that. It's my teammate's fault, he didn't let me work on this enough. Instead of pointing the other finger and blaming other people, I believe the best leaders accept responsibility and they own it themselves. It's my fault. It's my fault if I didn't get a great grade on the test. It's my fault that I lost that wrestling match. It's my fault that this relationship with this person didn't work out because I was selfish and prideful and I wasn't loving it enough. So that accepting responsibility is tough to do because you have to swallow your pride. You have to own your mistakes. You have to make the necessary changes. And again, you have to keep moving forward. And I think a great leader accepts responsibility. A non-leader, a weak individual, is always looking to blame others. They're always looking to point that finger at others, not realizing, right, that these other fingers are pointing right towards them. Really easy to point that one finger, not realizing that it's really your issue. So I encourage you to accept responsibility in life. So again, hunger for wisdom, right? Expect the best and then accept responsibility. This R is to respond with courage. And that means in tough situations, realizing you're not going to make everybody happy. That if you try to make everybody happy, you're going to be miserable yourself. That you have to trust your values, trust your worldview, your paradigm, your faith, how you see the world, and trust those values, make obedient decisions to them, and respond with courage. Respond with courage in choosing what college you want to go to. Respond with courage in regards to, if you're in a relationship and it's not the right person to be with, if they're leading you down the wrong path, you have to respond with courage to break up from that relationship. If somebody asks you to get in the car and somebody's been drinking and driving, instead of worrying about what other people think, you have to respond with courage and say, no, I'm not going to get in that car. If somebody tempts you to do drugs or to drink or to do something illegal, and again, if you think too much about what your peers may think and making people happy, you may cave and make the wrong decision versus responding with courage and making the right decision. And responding with courage is a really important part of being a leader. And I think we see some of the best leaders of all times are those that in the tough, just scary, fearful period of times that they stood up boldly and they responded with courage. One of my favorite verses in the Bible, Joshua 1:9, says, be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified or discouraged, for the Lord goes with you wherever you go. Respond with courage. So we got hunger for wisdom, expect the best, accept responsibility, respond with courage. And here's the last one. The last one's to think of others first. And I think you see this hat I have on here. It says, I am second. And the reason why I wear this a lot is to realize when it comes to my family, they're first and I'm second. When it comes to my relationship with God, He's first, I'm second. When it comes to my relationship with coaching my athletes at the PRTC, they're first, I'm second. So when I see the world, when I'm dealing with other humans, other individuals, is to think of others first. They're first, and I'm second. And I really think that really separates the great leaders, the servant leaders, from those that they may become successful in this world, but they're really self-centered and they're really all about themselves, and ultimately they're not making a really positive impact on this planet. The ones that make a positive impact on this world are those that really think of others first. So to kind of pull this full circle here, I'm encouraging you to really realize leadership is from the heart. Leadership is to hunger for wisdom, to expect the best, to accept responsibility, to respond with courage, and to think of others first. And I believe if you do that, then you will become the best leader you can be, and you're going to impact a myriad of lives with who you are as a leader. And I just encourage you to take those values that we talked about today, and none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes every single day, but accept responsibility, right? Make a commitment to get better and just keep moving forward as a leader every single day in every single way. Keep moving forward. And I wish you well. If I can ever do anything for you, my address is @CoachSlay, SLAY, on social media. So if I can encourage you in any way, shape, or form, please let me know. But I just encourage you onward and upward.